Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Anasa. Still a little bit congested, but well, a little wet this morning, but completely here. So let's meditate. So take your attention down to the tip of your tailbone. And we're going to do the internal ohms in each energy center. We'll do each one 9 times, and I'll remind you when to change energy centers so you can allow your mind to completely occupy, for example, the tip of your tailbone now. So take all your attention and energy to the tip of the tailbone, your awareness, and repeat the Om sound internally 9 times, and I'll let you know when to shift upward. When you finish at your own pace, move to the energy center below your belly button. Moving your attention to the solar plexus. When you're ready, move your attention to the heart center. At your own pace, move your attention to your throat center. at your own pace, moving to the third eye, remembering that it's further toward the center, directly over where your heart and soft palate meet in your head. As you're ready, move your attention to the top of your head, the crown chakra. Now take your attention through your entire energetic system and around your physical body, not limited to your physical body, just focusing on the spirit, and allow the energy to circulate as you use the Om sound to center your attention. Now gently holding your attention inside, allow your eyes to open at your own pace. There's no hurry. And hold to your light being as you participate in the physical as well. How may we serve today? Kind of got behind on the schedule. No time for the hair dryer. But we're here. It's more important. And clean, present. And warm. All important. In this time, it's clear and cold out. So how is everybody? How's it going? So our job, number one job, is contact with our deepest self. Number two, in whatever way we can support those around us to stay sane. By sane, we mean connected to that divinity inside. And we support anyone who's being crushed by the merciless oligarchic revolution that's being imposed on us. So we make ourselves of service in whatever way possible, whatever we see to do in any moment or not do in any moment. But the number one thing is to maintain our internal connection. And then where we can, to support those who can't support themselves as much as we can, in whatever way we can. And, even moral support goes a long way. Just saying, I'm with you. And just feeling in ourselves our unity with all of humanity and our connection to an interdependence on the whole of the natural world, regardless of what other people think its value or, how they want to dominate it. We can connect and offer our support to the whole in union and with respect. And that's how we maintain our union and connection to ourselves, is by respecting the balance of the whole, regardless of what's going on around us. And as we've been saying for a long time, we have to see what it is that we don't want in order to choose what we do. And so that's what the outer world is about in this period of time. How may we serve? We welcome your questions, reports, whatever is happening.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I
I'm
just want to
delighted.
report that this is a very, very exciting and physically uncomfortable time for me. But for me, it's a very exciting spiritual time for me, and I'm so excited and thankful. And one of the important things, one of the realizations that I had just the other day was I have been taking this political scene personally,
Yeah.
which is, as we know, a big mistake. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm under the effect, but I, I'm going to do my best to take my attention away from that and go more inward.
Yeah, we don't have to remind ourselves that the misogynists are in control. They'll do
Yeah,
plenty to remind us,
yeah.
but we don't have to live in that soup, you know, that but it does, offer some interesting triggers for what we've been through in our past, probably all of us at some time or another. But we don't have to embrace that. That's not our life.
The news is bad every single day. It seems like it gets worse. And I do my best to just scroll down through my New York Times and go straight to the crossword puzzle and connections. And because it's just too much. It's no good. It's not
It
good
is
for
too
me.
much.
Yeah.
But
So
if you see somebody out there in your travels and you're shopping and, you can give them a quarter due.
yeah.
I mean, there's only what we can do, and really opening the door for somebody and smiling at them when they're dying inside
Yeah.
is one of the most potent things we can do in a day. You know, a mom with two kids who are screaming and she can't get the door open and the groceries out at the same time. You just, open the door and and give a smile.
I I'm noticing that more people are smiling at me too lately.
Well,
I
that's
think
the mirror effect.
I think I'm really meeting people. I'm looking in their eyes and rather than just looking elsewhere. But when I'm walking, I do look at people. I look in their eyes, and typically I get a smile. So
Yeah.
it's very, very nice.
Well, they're seeing the smile in your eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where
I'm
the
sure
smile
smiling, that's for
starts.
sure.
Yeah, the smile starts in the eyes. And
Yeah,
that's a true smile. You know,
yeah.
this is not a true smile, but the smile from the eyes, that's the
Yeah.
truth.
And I just want to again express my appreciation. This has meant so much to me, these morning sessions and Wednesday sessions have just been so wonderful and so nurturing for me. Thank
Mm.
you.
You are so welcome. It's such a blessing to have you and watch you expand into yourself. It's it's really it's really the greatest pleasure to share in that for all of us. Mm. So how may we serve? Mm. So happy to hear that. Just total joy all the way through. Mm. Mm.
What can you give us an idea of what is going on in the planets? I see all this stuff about yesterday was a big important day, today's a big important day, the planets are aligning, expect big stuff. What's going on?
Well, the planets are always moving, so there's always something happen. And how do we say this? Well, according to their size and shape, they all move at different speeds. And so they interact with each other and with us in a different way every single day. And the moon moves the fastest. So it moves 12 degrees in 30 minutes every single day. And the slowest in the Vedic astrological picture is Saturn. Moon goes around the horoscope once in a month, goes through the entire horoscope. Saturn goes through the entire horoscope every 19 years. So this is the broad picture of how fast the fast and the slowest bodies move in the sky. And because the galaxy moves around a center, the stars appear to be fixed in the sky, like they're just hung there and they stay where they are. And so this is the backdrop on which the planets move. And interestingly, the houses of the moon are all based on the stars, which is why they aren't exactly, it's maybe too much information, they aren't exactly congruent with the houses. I mean, the math all works out, and there's definitely a rhythm to it that makes total sense. But the solar movement and the lunar movement are two different things because they don't move at the same speed. So having the months and the year work out, is a little bit, they're like extra minutes here and there. And so they have to be accommodated. That's why we have leap years and things like that. But anyway, the big picture is that everything moves in rhythm, but the rhythms are like a symphony. And so every day the different parts move in their own direction, and sometimes they appear to go backwards. And so when that happens, that's, the planet behaves in a different way. It just doesn't do what it's expected to do. When it moves forward, it does something slightly different, unexpected. So all of these things are constantly interacting. And the more we understand about how they interact and what each one means, then the more significance we can give to these statements, like the planets are all lined up. But it takes a fair amount of knowledge for that to mean anything. And so what we'll say is that there are some very intense, planets are considered benefic when they make us feel good or help us to accomplish things, and they're considered malefic when they make us feel obstructed or like life is difficult or depressed, like we can't, we're walking through quicksand. The planets can do this to us, not to us exactly, but it is their nature. It's the nature of nature that this is how they impact us. And so it's helpful to know if the overriding features in the sky are benefic or malefic. And there's always a mix because there are always planets that are working to help us, and help isn't exactly the right word. to make us feel good or happy or, feel like we're making progress in our lives. And then there are always planets that make us feel the opposite. And knowing one's particular horoscope is the first step to being able to interact in that configuration. Because then we can know what the balance in our lives, from a Vedic astrological perspective, the natal chart that we're born with at the time of our birth, where the planets are at the time of our birth, is the karmic signature of what we have agreed to do in this lifetime, what we have had to agreed to do and to face both, and to it's called prarabdha karma, which is the karma that has ripened to be experienced in this lifetime. And so one of the things that they say in Vedic astrology, which is, you can believe this or not, because there's no way of proving or disproving it, but we chose this life. We chose to come in and experience the things we are experiencing so that we can have the lessons of those experiences, move through them, and evolve into greater awareness of ourselves as spirit beings. And so from a Vedic perspective, there are 4 aims of life, and all 4 of them need to be accomplished. The first one is dharma, which is right action. The second one is artha, which is prosperity. Without enough prosperity, we can't do our inner work. We have to have a place to live, enough to eat, and, warmth, and the other necessities of life to be able to prosper. And then the third aim of life is pleasure. We need to feel a certain amount of, we'll say, wholeness, wellness, to then go to the fourth aim of life, which is moksha, or enlightenment. So this is, Vedic belief system. And we'll tell you, we've, participated in other spiritual belief systems that say none of that's important. You just sit and be quiet and know God. And that's all there is to it. And that's not false. But for most of us, it doesn't exactly work that way. There's a lot that we have agreed to do in ourselves. And so wherever we are in all of that, it's important to foster our deepest connection and not judge ourselves about any of it, because we have no way of knowing. It's not a contest, it's not a game, it's not a, these are just articulations of structures that appeared to be relevant at a certain historical time. in human evolution. And the reason we're talking about them is because they are the lasting foundation of the astrological understanding, and the belief system is that there are these time periods called yugas, some of which are much, much easier to experience, and some of which are really, really difficult to experience. And various astrologers, Vedic astrologers, are saying that this time is the most difficult, the Kali Yuga, in which people have no access to their own inner light. And so, they're acting out of darkness and everything is chaotic. And, we prefer to think that that age was when people were hitting each other with clubs and pulling women around by the hair, and that we're not doing that anymore. But some days we wonder. And so anyway, there are these yugas, and a lot of astrologers believe that we are in the next higher phase, which is called Dwapara Yoga, where we have electricity and we have nuclear energy and we have solar energy and we know how to use these kinds of energies, and we are evolving to, the internet is a possible step of evolution. But any one of these, as we get into more and more powerful energetic systems in the natural world, we know very well that any one of them can be our downfall if they're misused. And that potential, at some moments seems much greater than others. Anyway, this is the underlying system that we're talking about, and I'm not sure why we're in it this morning, except that maybe we're trying to give you a framework for why we would even study astrology. Why does it matter how the planets move? And it's because it's a way of understanding the pressures that are on us in a given period of time, so that, for one thing, our expectations are not out of alignment with what our possibility is for a certain period of time. If you know that you're in a Saturn cycle and that it's going to be very hard work, even though you don't feel like doing it, that's a very different awareness that you approach your life with than if you know you're in a Venus cycle and you have a beautiful Venus and there's probably going to be a lot of love in your life in a certain period of time. But if you're in a Saturn cycle and you think you're in a Venus cycle, then that's uncomfortable. And so it helps to be armed with the awareness that, we're in an easy or difficult. And even the easy ones are not always easy, because, things interact and they look at each other. When a malefic planet looks at a benefic planet, the benefic planet doesn't feel as good as if it's free. That's just how it works. And so these things are always interacting with each other, and it changes every day and it changes every year. But at this particular point in time, there are some big bad boys that are moving from one place, one house to another. And when they move, and they move, Saturn moves very slowly. It's been in Aquarius, which is a very comfortable home for Saturn. It's been there for over 2 years. And in March, it will move into Pisces, which is a different place. Set in Aquarius, Saturn is home, because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. And when it moves into Pisces, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of wisdom. And Saturn is the planet of karma that will be delivered. And so Jupiter is the house, Pisces is the house of, it's the last house in the horoscope, and it's the house where it's all about enlightenment, because it's the biggest spiritual house. And so it wants to be light and free, and it's a watery house, so it's about emotions, and Venus is exalted. Venus is in its happiest place in the sky when Venus is in Pisces, and Venus is about to move into Pisces and will be there for quite some time. But in addition to Saturn getting ready to move there, which hasn't happened yet but will, um, and Venus getting ready to move there, which is happening fairly soon, the 28th of January, Venus moves in. So that's sometime this week. So Venus will be exalted. So there will be, a more accessible feeling of love and artistic appreciation in these things. But Rahu, the planet of insatiable desire, is already in Pisces. And Rahu, lies, cheats, steals, and does whatever to get what he wants. And so when you get Rahu and Venus together, it can be kind of a complicated energy, because Rahu is often stronger than Venus and can take over that romantic desire and sort of slant it in a direction that we didn't think we wanted to go. That can happen. So knowing that those, the good guy, the bad boys and the good girls are sort of going to be interacting in Pisces can be a little bit dicey internally for all of us, because we can be deceived by what we think is happening. Now we're all old enough and slow enough that we can move slowly through it, and it's not going to be like it was when we were, between the ages of 16 and 30, and these forces really mobilized us in into action. It's different when we're older, but it doesn't mean that we're not aware of it. And springtime with exalted Venus is, it makes all our hearts open. It's wonderful. But having Rahu there, it can go sideways pretty fast for any number of reasons. So it's a little bit unpredictable. Rahu is the planet that my friend's wife calls Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So that Rahu is already in Pisces, and in May will move into Aquarius, because Rahu goes backwards in the sky, and Saturn is at the moment going forward. So, but they will meet in there, and when Saturn and Rahu meet, this is a cataclysmic junction of two bad guys in Pisces, which is, a very soft, warm, fuzzy place in the horoscope. So having two bad guys meet there will not be that comfortable for any of us. And that happens, March-ish. You can stay tuned. We'll give you more graphic representation. But these things are all gearing up, and you can tell we've only talked about 3 planets, and it's already a little bit complex. 3 planets in one house. So we could go on for a very long time like this, and I'm not sure how much information would be helpful to you. So we're going to stop at this point and ask for more questions. But does that sort of say something to you? Does it answer your question at all? But it is helpful to know how this impacts you personally, because it means that we don't take it personally because we understand. For example, Rahu has been sitting on my ascendant for the last year, inviting me to be crazy. And Ketu is on my moon, inviting me to walk away from all things in the world. And so neither one is exactly telling the truth. And both are very powerful influences. And Andrew's probably the greatest witness. And a day in the life of my inner self can be interesting. We'll leave it at that word. Because these forces are powerful. They can come in and take us off our base. I was going to say pedestal. That's that's maybe a more interesting word, but it can, they can make us crazy. And if we know that that tendency is there, we'll still be crazy, but it won't last nearly as long because we go, oh yeah, of course. And we can right ourselves pretty quickly. And so, it may be that good girls and bad guys, and looking at it as sort of a comic book that's, flowing around us. I'm working a little bit with that language because that's how it feels like. And to bring it home a little bit more basely, because these things that the impulses that flow through us as a result of these powers they're not small, and they have a big impact. And this is why so many people study and talk about astrology. But to really, there's so many things happening at once. It's the conversation gets overpopulated very quickly. and and as a friend, one of my teachers said, astrology is astral chess. And so there are a lot of moving parts, and the more you know, the more moving parts there are. So I'm not going to make a list, although I'm tempted. But it wouldn't help. But let's say there are a lot of moving parts and they all have a voice. They don't all have equal voice. The power of the voices change because the relationships change. But knowing the general forces, every person is in a particular astrological cycle at a moment. So if you know that for 19 years, Mercury, the planet of rational thinking, is going to be, really important for you, then you can kind of know that you should hang your hat in your mind for a while and see what that is. And that if that's happening, you have to pay attention to your heart to make sure it doesn't stop functioning, because the rational mind and the emotional mind are both important parts of us, and we want to be living through them all. And, I'm still in study about which chakra and which planet, and because they overlap quite a bit. And different sources say different things. So I'm still understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all system. It's not linear. That's the first thing to understand. It's not linear. And in trying to make it linear, we're again trying to reduce it to something that we can in a way have mental control over. But the way these things interact are so complex. But to know the themes in your life can be helpful. So like Mercury is my theme for 17 years. So, I'm studying. It's just natural for me to be accumulating knowledge during a rational mind period. But because the real underlying desires in my chart have to do with knowing God, I study different ways to know God. And before that, I was in the period of Saturn, which is 19 years. And that's all about working. It's about hard work in the world. And I was very fortunate that I have been very fortunate that my hard work in the world is about service. And that Saturn enjoys that. So that kind of alignment can happen. And if I live long enough, well, in 2032, I'll go into Ketu, which is about the planet of moksha. So we'll see what that is. My Ketu and Mercury are within 3 degrees of each other, so it likely won't be a huge change for me because they're already very close together. But it may change the emphasis a bit from the rational mind to the irrational mind. And that lasts for 7 years. And then there's Venus, and my Venus is one of the most powerful planets in the chart. So if I can live that long, it might be fun. Although, who knows how much love and beauty one can appreciate it. I'll be in my 80s. So that, I'm just telling you what my cycles look like. And so I can say that about myself. And if you have your, if you understand yours, you'll be able to say that about yourself, whatever's true for you, and have that understanding to move through. Does that answer that? Is that relevant? And when the planets line up in different houses, what you want is for each one to have enough space to express itself without too much influence of others. And then that's uh, that's a time when there's relative clarity of although when they look at each other, it always has an impact, even if they look from across the horoscope. But we're coming to a time in some months where all the planets are going to be bunched up in a couple of houses, one of which is Pisces. And that doesn't happen very often. Who will tell you about it before it happens? That's probably more than enough astrology for today. How may we serve further? What's going on for you? Andrew, anything? Hmm. Yes.
For a few days last week, I was extremely aware of an undertow. Um, Not just for me, but for the people around me, where it would be very easy to be pulled under. And I took that to the Anasa temple, which um, in the I Ching is called the sage. And it's the higher intelligence that's always available, but most of the time I'm busy, you know, uh, kind of blocking the information, not blocking, but
No.
getting in the way of the flow of information. And so I asked for help, assistance, and received it pretty quickly. Um, and got freed of the pull of it, n- not freed of the work, the effort uh, to stay on track, but free of the really strong pull. And I can only call it an undertow because it feels like it's under everything and wanting to suck us down with it. Um, and it would be so easy to just go there.
Well,
Anyway, um,
you,
I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful for the existence of the higher intelligence that is seems to be always available, always ready. And sometimes even when my mind is going off track, which is almost, I mean, there's always thoughts, and some of them really could lead me somewhere I don't want to go. Um, and the higher intelligence voice will come in and correct it. Um, Sometimes without me even asking. But if I ask, it's really potent. And I just wanted to say that because I'm not sure how many people on this call have been experiencing that undertow, but there is help available. Oh, always. Anyway, that was my report for
We
this
have
week.
a few things to say about that. The first one is congratulations on catching yourself. Because when we catch ourselves on the way down, it's a lot easier to climb up the rope. Or let's tell the truth, be pulled up the rope. Or even relieved of any concept of a rope. We are just in the space of sacred being. And having that space available and ever more willing to participate with us, actually depends on our willingness to participate with it to a large extent. And so catching yourself and sitting down and breathing and allowing that love to permeate and become our essence is, of course, the practice. And so it's very beautiful to catch yourself and invoke all the powers we've been given to reconnect and to continue every day to build that connection deeper and deeper and deeper so that that is our default without even thinking that we are there. And the truth is it never leaves us. It's us, we take our attention away and put it other places. But we always have our breath to remind us exactly where the space between the breaths is, and we can get there quicker and quicker. And the quickest way is to just be grateful for the breath. And you'll notice that just holding that for a split second takes us right to where we want to go. Wow, how good it feels to breathe. It's just right there. And you can feel through the whole of time and space to the moment when we leave. We're just taking that breath and then just completely letting go. And in that practice, we're totally free. Thank you. I think that was valuable for everybody. Mm-hmm. So another thing to keep in mind, just so we have a little bit of context, we talked about how Rahu lies, cheats, steals, everything for insatiable desire. The United States is in a Rahu cycle. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So we're just along for the ride. You know, we suddenly stepped into the amusement park. We're not amused. We're all a little bit too old to be amused. So, so, but you know, we don't have to be heavy about it every minute. It's very important that we love our life, that we be grateful for our inner life, and value the opportunity that has brought us to it. Because without it, we'd really be up a creek without a paddle at this point. And, you know, we have a paddle. Regardless of what happens, we can take a deep breath and know God. That is the greatest gift any human being can have. And the fact that we get to share it every week, what a great gift. We have been building this, and we're building and building and building in ourselves. And this is the greatest joy, the greatest endeavor, the most loving thing we could possibly be doing with our lives, is building this connection with our own divinity, with our highest self, with our, you know, whatever words we use to describe it, but coming into union with ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we stop struggling to do it. That's not the definition of success. The definition of success is that we remember to do it. And so catching ourselves that's the whole thing, is catching ourselves and then not going, oh my God, look where I was, but going, oh my God, look what I have access to. So we don't need to shoot ourselves in the foot because we're looking somewhere else. Our life is about distraction, our external life. And there are things we have to pay attention to or they don't get done. So that's not wrong. But we take time and we cultivate that love within us every single day. And we appreciate it and grow it. And we don't lose that. And the awe that experience inspires every time we touch it in ourselves. One of my friends, when he was a kid, he thought it was the undertoad in the water. It was going to grab your foot and pull you down. Language is a dangerous thing. Isn't that the image? And make a good horror movie, The Undertoad.
I just wanted to share this because it keeps coming up. We've been in connection with a lot of our old friends and our dear friends, the people that we have heart connections with. And almost to a person, I can't think of a person who didn't say this in some form or another, and that is that, well, we're all about the same age, and we are so grateful to have lived in this period of time that is relatively mm, conducive to inner work and, well, you know what I'm talking about. And
Absolutely.
and but it's odd that right at the end here we're looking at a mess. Um, a really interesting big mess that is like a whole new game afoot. Uh, anyway, it just is intriguing to us all, but in a sometimes in a very alarming, right, alarming way. But anyway, I just wanted to say that there are so many people who have been grateful for having lived in this time and given this opportunity. I mean, it is a supreme gift.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just
And
wanted to say that.
yeah, we're seeing how it can be lost, the potential for losing it as a culture. And, we've always said it was a great gift. And, if we were in Ukraine right now or Gaza or any of those places, we would have a different life. We've had this one. But, we can't take it for granted. Look at Los Angeles last week. And, Asheville 3 weeks before, a month before that. I mean, yeah. And that's just the natural disasters. And the unnatural disasters are just as unpredictable. And, it's interesting because whatever it is that stole our election, um, it's something that our country did how many times to other countries. So, the whole idea of karma begins to take on a different quality of meaning for a culture. But we totally agree that we have been so fortunate, and in this moment continue to be so fortunate. And everything changes for everybody all the time. We've all lived through many, many changes. And I agree, we're all at an age where, I wouldn't want to be young now. And I feel for people who have children and fear for them. And yet, what I see is the brightness of the next generations that are coming along, the real, incredibly inspiring intelligence that these people have. It's amazing to me, like what's coming. So they are going to figure it out.
I was just going
Yes.
to add, just as an aside from what Pam was saying, is that most of us in kind of this age bracket went through the 60s
Mm-hmm.
at a time when you know, when we were teenagers or early 20s or below. And the 60s were a real explosion of everything, it just kind of went wild. And we were all just looking at all the possibilities. And then, reality hit, cycled back through. But I think that was a huge time for all of us.
Oh, yeah. And that was back when we thought, that McCarthyism was as bad as it could get. And the Vietnam War and, Mayor Daley were to have a president like Johnson now would, I mean, it's just different time, a different time. But yeah, we were up in arms then, quite literally.
Yep, but seeds were planted, and I think that they're coming up. It feels like to me anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we talked last week about the 70 million people in the Kumbh Mela. So the desire to know God is not something that we're the only ones experiencing. We are a tiny cell in the body of humanity that is reaching for God. And so we have no idea how big it is or what power it has in the scheme of the whole. So, we're a speck on we're specks in the big picture. But we are shining brightly as we possibly can. And that's the important thing, is that we, together we make a big light. And that's what it's about. The big it. It's about being the light that we are. And of course, that was at the bottom of what everybody wanted but couldn't articulate when we were teenagers and having sit-ins and love-ins and, all those ins that we had way back then. And now, we are the fruition of that. So we never let go of that deep inner need to quench that thirst. Oh my goodness, we went over time without even paying attention. Did we?
2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we kind of missed our meditation, but we had a pretty good one at the beginning. How is everybody? Yeah. Yeah, well, we covered it all. Rahu rules the roost at the at the moment. So insatiable desire, greed, they're all, Oh, thank you so much. It's our joy and pleasure to be here with you and share this time with you. We're so grateful for it. Till next week, much, much love to you all, and thank you.